Hey guys, and welcome back to another month's progress of our Wizard Roguelike Devlog series. I'm Bimzydev, and I've been working on this project for going on 3 months now with one of my good friends, Alex. And we're happy to announce that we've finally come up with a name for our game. After 1 or 2 months of figuring our game out and putting our ideas all down onto paper, we've decided to roll with the name Runes of Time. We feel like this name fits quite well with the story of our game, which we'll be elaborating on in an upcoming devlog. Let us know what you think in the comments down below. If you want to be part of the creative decisions while we develop our game, feel free to join the community Discord. It's a place where you can come hang out, share your games, play some of our games. A link for that one will be in the description down below. The game that we're creating is designed to be a cooperative multiplayer experience where you need to get through a bunch of levels by defeating enemies and completing challenges to eventually get to the final boss level where you'll need to kill the boss to win the game. We started out this month by creating a minimum viable product in our Miro board, which is essentially designed to be all of the components we need to have a basic version of a prototype for our game. After having playtested the game from our previous devlog a little bit more, we decided that each of the levels in our game was just a little bit too big and confusing, and that it was too hard to know exactly what to do. So we decided that we wanted to redesign all of the levels completely, and we wanted to go for more of a linear approach where the player starts at the start of the level and there's sort of a clear path towards the end goal. We redesigned how the levels would play, and that instead of needing to find 3 crystals scattered across the map, you'd get to the end of the level and there would be a challenge for you to complete, and you'd need to beat the challenge to get to the next level. With this system in place, we decided to take a little bit of inspiration from the game Wizard of Legend, where you'd complete 3 challenge levels to inevitably end up at a mini-boss level. Once you completed a few of these mini-bosses, you'd end up at the final boss in our game. With our level structure in place, I decided to clean up our implementation a little bit by creating a lobby level so that when the players join the game, they all get put onto a little lobby island where they can run around and cast their spells before the game starts. I also ended up making a little mini-boss level so that after you'd completed a challenge level, you'd get teleported there. The only problem was I hadn't created a boss yet. Before working on any boss systems, I decided I wanted to make my artificial intelligence a little bit smarter. In the previous month's work, I'd created a finite state machine system for my AI. However, this system was a little bit clunky, and I felt like I was taking way too much time implementing little things and little changes to the AI, and it was all getting really complicated really quickly. So I started looking into some alternative systems, and that's when I found Behavior Designer. This is an asset that you can find on the asset store, and it makes making your AI really easy, as it's sort of similar to Unity's blueprint system, where you can sort of just drag and drop different functionality as you need it, and sort of craft your AI to however you need to implement for your game specifically. After reading up on a little bit of documentation, I also figured out that this Behavior Designer system has integration with the A-Star Pathfinding asset pack, which I decided to pick up as well, as that one makes using Unity's navmesh system a lot more optimized. And it has multi-threaded support, which means that if you're running on higher end hardware, you can really make use of that. So after getting these 2 packages working well with each other and creating a few scripts to integrate into my abilities system so that the AI could shoot fireballs and stuff, I was ready to start creating the boss. In hindsight, we probably should have done a little bit more design work with this one because I sort of just was super excited and just jumped straight into implementation and creating some abilities without really planning out what we wanted the boss to do. But it turned out quite well. I added an AoE ability where the boss sort of charges up a giant explosion. We still need to add some VFX, but yeah, it turned out quite well. We also gave it fireballs, which I think is a little bit generic, so I might end up making those homing fireballs just so it's a little bit more of a challenge for the player. And then we also gave the boss the ability to shoot these sort of circular AoE abilities at the player's current position that take a little while to charge up. So those ones make gameplay super interesting because you can't really stand in one spot for too long when you're fighting the boss. Other than that, we haven't really had too much of an opportunity this month to expand upon the environment or enemies in terms of visuals because Alex has been developing the character and player and really putting some effort into creating the art style that we want with sort of a concrete rule set so that we can reference that going forward and really figure out if that fits for our game. So with Alex finishing up the artwork for our first playable character, I thought it was about time to really clean up and polish the character controller. Quick plug, if you're interested in playing our game, you can download it from our itch.io page, but just remember, it's a pre-prototype build. We'd love to hear your feedback in our Discord community. I think most of us have played a game before where the character controller isn't quite right. Something about it sort of feels off, and that can ruin the player experience. So I think it's really important to iterate over the character controller, grab a few opinions, and make sure that everyone likes the way it feels when they're running around in the game. For our game specifically, we have a lot of items that you can collect in the game that increase your jump height or your player move speed or your run speed. So we need to make sure that the character controller plays smoothly with all different variations that the player can have. We ended up using the Kinematic Character Controller asset pack, which provides a baseline API to help you create the character controller you need for your specific game. So with the character controller feeling a lot smoother and easier to control, we were able to move on to other parts of our game. At this point, Alex had a little bit of spare time to polish some of the visuals within our game. So he added the trims around the item UI to represent the rarities. He created a shader to make the player always visible through terrain. And finally, he was able to work on the atmospheric fog. It sort of helps to obscure some of the objects in the distance while also providing a little bit more color and flair to give our game that much more of a magical feeling. I just wanted to throw out a quick thanks about all the positive feedback we've seen in our previous video. All of the comments about the wizard's hat haven't gone unnoticed. Alex has put in a little bit of time with the Magicka cloth asset pack to make our cloth assets a little bit more realistic in the game. So now when the player jumps around, the hat and cape don't spasm out of control. There's one last thing that I wanted to touch on that's been a huge save of time when it comes to designing our game, and that's the Odin Inspector. This is another asset pack we decided to pick up that lets you create custom interfaces for your game with minimal code. What I created was this game balance window, which includes all of the design values which we need to tweak to balance our game. All of these values are based off of scriptable objects, and they get serialized into this window really easily in about 20 to 30 lines of code. So you can see if I want to adjust maybe some of the abilities values or any of that sort of stuff, it's all in one place. Instead of having to navigate through a bunch of different folders to get to my difficulty levels, my players, stats, all that stuff in our game that we need to tweak, I just go to one place where all the values are stored, and I can just sort of mess around with them as we need. I can't recommend this tool enough, as we've only been working on our game for about 3 months now, and we've probably saved between 30 and 40 hours. Definitely put it on your watch list and pick it up when it goes on sale next. If you're interested in following along with more of the dev process, you can check us out on our Twitter handles, where we post fairly regular updates of the game. You can join the Discord community, or you can watch Alex's streams, which he does about 3 times a week, where you can watch him do all of his artwork. Thanks for watching, and have a great day.